your bad self. You weren't expecting that one, were you? Welcome to the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This is the United Stand. I am Kev Ashford. We've gone live a little early. It is the countdown to kick-off. Manchester City against Manchester United in the Community Shield. But in the last couple of minutes, there has been a huge development for transfer activity at Manchester United. David Ornstein has just tweeted that Manchester United have agreed a fee for Matthijs de Ligt and for Mazraoui. That's how we say it, isn't it?
Yeah, Mazraoui.
So the news that is basically it's been, I say, a bad kept secret. It seems to have rumbled on all kind of summer. But the deal, it looks like it is done. I'll read out the actual tweet that David Ornstein has said. Man United agreed deal with Bayern Munich for Matthijs de Ligt, 45 plus 5 million, 5 plus 1 years, pending medical. And it all sort of goes on Wan-Bissaka. First of all, sorry, my guest for the Countdown to Kick-Up show, Tull.
How we doing, everybody? Football's back, man. I've just been saying football's back, finally.
What a way. What did I say to you before? It'd be funny if we got a here we go or some kind of transfer news. What a time. What a time
that's just got me bang in the mood for kick-off now. I can't wait now. I was buzzing anyway because it's been, you know, you lose your mind during pre-season a little bit, don't you?
Yeah.
You get bogged down with all the transfer news. You know, at the beginning it's exciting, but eventually, you know, deals like this de Ligt one where you know it's going to happen, but they just drag it out, and you know, you start to get a little bit sick of it, don't you? So, you know, now that's been done, I'm bang in the mood for it, Kev. I can't wait.
It's great to have you here, mate. I've not seen you since, what was it, the FA Cup final, I think?
Yeah, it's a pleasure, mate.
Make sure you get your comments in. The comment section, I always say, is alive and kicking. It's the first sort of meaningful game of the season, shall we say. There is a trophy on offer, but I think we'll stick with the news because it's obviously breaking news. David Ornstein, if for any reason you just joined us, de Ligt and Mazraoui, it looks like it is done. Medicals pending. I've just mentioned Tull, one of the players in this kind of move, and it does seem to be that you need to get one out the door before you can get somebody in. Wan-Bissaka, is that a player that you'd be kind of sad to see go, or when you look at the potential deal that's going to be done here, you know, is it a major upgrade?
It's a strange one with Wan-Bissaka because I did say last season, I think it's time to move Wan-Bissaka on. For me, if you compare Wan-Bissaka to Diallo, and Diallo has been there a year longer than Wan-Bissaka, if you look at the player we signed when we signed Diallo compared to what he is now, there's a very clear progression. You know, he's made a significant improvement. Wan-Bissaka, to me, still feels like the player we signed from Palace. You know, that one...
Not kicked on.
Yeah, he just seems like the same player we signed. We signed him when he was 22 and, you know, he's late 20s now and he doesn't really seem like he's made any significant improvement. I mean, the whole thing when we signed him was, you know, he's an awesome defender, but we know he's a little bit of a liability on the ball, and he still is. I'd still say he is. So I'm not, like, overly wounded that he's going, but it would have been nice if we could have kept him for 10, 15 games a season where, you know, we come up against a tricky winger and you can use Wan-Bissaka to nullify him. That's, to be honest with you, he's probably the best in the world at that job. You've got a tricky winger on the pitch and you just want to see that winger off. He probably is the best in the world at doing that job. But overall, you can't just have a player who's good at one thing. Do you know what I mean? You'd rather have a player who's an overall package, which, you know, that's why Diallo starts since Ten Hag comes in. That's why he goes with Diallo over Wan-Bissaka. So, yeah, it's sad to see him go. You know, he's been here for 5 years or so now, but yeah, probably is time to move on. Well,
let's have a look at what I was going to say, our potential new signings. Matthijs de Ligt first. I think he kind of divides opinion. I heard Paul Scholes midweek saying, why are Man United going in for a player at 40 to 50 million that can't get in Bayern Munich's team? Why would Man United spend that kind of money on a player that's going to be kind of sat on the bench, might not play for Manchester United? Now, we will have the team news dropping shortly for the Community Shield, so we'll look into that. But there's obviously whispers that Evans and Maguire might start. Now, when you're looking at that, there's not much depth to the defence. What do you think that Matthijs de Ligt could potentially bring to Manchester United as a player, attributes?
Yeah, well, even when we signed Yoro, you know, before Yoro got the injury, I was still saying we'd still need another centre-back because, you know, if you really want to be really critical of it, you'd have to say bringing in Euro for Varane is a downgrade right now. Like, obviously, the future for Euro's bright, but if we're looking at just this season, you'd rather have Raphael Varane than Euro. You know, he's 18 years old, unproven, never played in the Premier League. So you would rather have Rafa Varane. So even when we signed Euro, I was still saying we still need another centre-back. We can't hang our hat on Lenny Euro. When he got injured, then it became a concrete, we have to sign another centre-back. De Ligt and Branthwaite were the ones I liked, so I'm buzzing to get De Ligt. What I would say, I know people say, you know, I know De Ligt's had problems at Bayern Munich. He didn't quite settle at Juventus either. But sometimes a player, you know, rejoining up with an old manager, sometimes that manager can get the best out of that player. And don't forget, De Ligt at 18 years old was captaining an Ajax side to a Champions League semi-final. Yeah. That is pretty much unheard of. You don't see it. You do not see 18-year-olds doing that. It doesn't happen. So you can't look past that. Even though he's probably not hit the heights that everyone thought he was gonna hit. You can't look past what he was doing as an 18-year-old, and the fact he was doing it with Ten Hag, you know, it gives me a bit of hope that he can join up with Ten Hag and get that thing going again. It's
a big thing that, because like you said, you made a good point there, because Ten Hag clearly knows the player. Yeah. I think a lot of people get sick of managers going in for players that, you know, they've played under this manager before, but De Ligt, like you say, rightly so, in that Ajax team, which was a brilliant team, he was colossal. And for Erik Ten Hag to be able to work with him, he'll know what he can get out of him. And I know he's had a few little injuries, niggly injuries, whatever, but you only have to look at the Bayern Munich fans. I said this on the Thursday show, the fact that there was a petition between the fans because they don't want to lose him.
They don't want to get rid of him.
And to me, that tells you a lot about a player. It's all right reading whatever you do in the media. You know, you can listen to Paul Scholes saying why United signing Matthijs de Ligt. But when a fan base, you know, it's quite unheard of to see, you know, in this day and age, it seems to be that there'd be a petition to get a player out the club. Yeah. You know, he's useless, get rid of him or whatever. But with De Ligt, you've got like Bayern Munich fans that literally set up a petition to keep this player. It tells you a lot about the player, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, the whole world knows of his potential. I mean, if you watched that Champions League run with Ajax back in the day, what was it, 5 years ago or so? That's because I was a kid when that happened. But the whole world was raving about De Ligt. He was the next big thing. You know, like I said, it was unheard of what he was doing. You don't see 18-year-olds doing that. He was a colossal of a man at 18 years old. You know, 6 foot, whatever he was, 6'3", 6'4". He was built at 18-year-olds captaining a side at that level of football. It's not like, I mean, even just doing it in the Dutch league's impressive, but to be doing it at such a at the semi-finals of a Champions League, they were that close to getting to the final. You know, that close to saying he would have been captaining an Ajax side at 18 years old in a Champions League final. Like, that's just ridiculous to be saying that, an 18-year-old captaining in a Champions League final.
We do have some breaking news for you on the United States. I love this. I love being back. I love breaking news. Breaking team news.
Oh, nice.
Me and Todd were discussing earlier before we went on air. I think the last time we did it was for the FA Cup final, and we got that totally wrong. I don't think anybody got it wrong. But the breaking news is that Mason Mount and Amad Diallo among the starters for Manchester United as they face City in back-to-back Wembley trips. That's what we are hearing. So that wasn't a name that was mentioned before when we were discussing potential teams. I did say Ahmad, didn't I? But
Mount I looked past, but if we're going to set up similar to how we set up in the cup final, then Mount does slot in because Mount will do his running.
Yeah, I think that's it is interesting because I wanted to go through in a bit. I'd put down, there's 8 players there from last season for me that could be like new signings this season. You know, I think there is a lot of, maybe this changes it now with the De Ligt and Mazraoui deal, but there does seem to be a lot of concern as to how United were kind of moving in the transfer market. You said before we went on air that, you know, the Zirkzee deal, Euro, they got done quickly, didn't they? And then we've had this period of time where it's kind of dragged. But if you are joining us, at the risk of repeating myself, I will say that deals for Matthijs de Ligt and Mazraoui have been confirmed by David Ornstein. They're both done deals, apparently. I'm just hearing in my ear. So They are done. They are done deals. I will stay in there.
And it basically means Wan-Bissaka's a done deal to West Ham, essentially. You know, that's just a matter of days now. Yeah. Wan-Bissaka won't be a Manchester United player.
And on Mazraoui, a good signing for Manchester United.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to delve into the chat. I always say this to you, so make sure you get your comments in, your super chats, whatever you want to do. It is match day here on the United Stand. We've got you covered. We've got the watch along coming up after it. But yeah, at this moment in time, we are reacting to, well, we brought you the breaking news. I'm just reading this now. So it does say done deal. Mazraoui will also join Man United with immediate effect, as reported and confirmed, after the total agreement between Man United and Bayern has been reached now. It was close as revealed yesterday, now done. This is also via The Athletic. So all the big guns are coming out now and confirming it. This isn't, you know, some little story that we're kind of trying to feed off and, you know, is it a good source? These are highly, you know, high up sources. So this is as good as done, isn't it? But on Mazraoui, is he an upgrade? Is he somebody that walks into the team, or is he going to have to battle for his place in this team?
What he is, he's a complete different profile of player than Wan-Bissaka. I managed to watch him a little bit last season. I watched Bayern a lot in the Champions League last year, up until I think they got to the semis, didn't they? Yeah, they got to the semis and then Real knocked him out. So I did watch Mazraoui a little bit, and I also got to watch him at Old Trafford, because Bayern played United in the group stage, didn't they? So I managed to have a little look at him at Old Trafford too. Different type of player to Wan-Bissaka, very good on the ball. Defensively, I know some people think he's a little bit of a defensive liability, but if you look at the style of football Ten Hag really wants to play, he wants to play on the ball, possession-based football, which, let's be honest, Wan-Bissaka's never going to fit that style of team. So you'd have to say, in terms of if Ten Hag's trying to tailor this team to play that way, then yeah, you would probably say he is an upgrade on Wan-Bissaka. So I'm looking forward to seeing him.
De Ligt will be part of that, won't he?
Oh yeah,
like you say, he's played under him before. He knows what he can get now. Obviously, Anthony. You know, we can always say that Anthony is his guy. It's not worked out. But in the defence, Lisandro Martinez, you know, is another one which, when he's fit, is definitely, you know, one of the first names on that team sheet. Yeah. And it gives you a little bit more confidence. Obviously, we're building up to the Community Shield, Manchester City against Manchester United. But the main thing for me was looking ahead to, I mean, it's less than a week now. It was a week ago yesterday, which is the Fulham game. You know, today, I'm not saying it's a free hit today, but you do get that distinct feeling that in a couple of hours or whatever it is, if we lose this, you'll get people going, I'm not bothered about that, man. Yeah. You know, it's just a Community Shield, it's a charity game. But if we win it, it's like, nice one, mate. First trophy in the cabinet. And it is a bit of a strange one, but for me, getting this positive news today, how well timed is that, by the way, as well? Whether that's United's PR department in overdrive thinking, you know, it's a big game because of the two teams that are playing in it. It's first showpiece of the season, and United just dropped this bombshell. You know, they've not announced it themselves, but we know how this works. It's going to be absolute massive news, but
it'll be Monday, won't it? They'll do it on Monday. It's usually Monday morning, isn't it?
Well, the main thing is getting these players in place now, looking ahead to that Fulham game, because I mentioned that potentially today we could be playing at the back with a Johnny Evans and Maguire kind of centre-back pairing, which is it's insane for a club like Manchester United, and that is not doing a disservice to either of them players, but when you're only less than a week away from a Premier League sort of campaign.
When there's names like Varane, Martinez, De Ligt getting thrown about, you do naturally look at Evans and Maguire and go, well, they're not quite that, you know, of that standard. To be honest with you, the one who I've never had a problem with Johnny Evans. I think he's a quality centre-back. It's Harry Maguire I look at and go, you know.
Well, Johnny Evans, really, on reflection, you have to look back last season, and as crazy as this sounds, you'd have to say he was probably one of the best signings.
Oh, absolutely.
Considering he was on a free transfer, and for the performances that you actually got out of him, don't get me wrong, I know he can't play every week. He's not, you know, prime Johnny Evans what he was years ago, but when he was called upon, you know, and had to come into that team, I think he even played through injury. Yeah. Which, when you look at some of our players that have ducked injuries, you've had managers in the past calling certain players out saying that they could have played. You know, you've got Johnny Evans there who would have literally ran through brick walls just to be in that team.
Yeah. He's a top professional. I get the idea with Johnny Evans, where he does get disrespected a little bit by football fans, United fans too. But I get the idea that in that changing room, he's probably very highly respected, not just by the players, but by the coaching staff too. I always use the point of the bloke's been to Wembley so many times. Like, I have absolutely no issue with Johnny Evans starting at Wembley. He's done it more than anybody in that side.
He's not done anything wrong, has he? He
didn't put a foot wrong last season. I think he's a quality player. I think he's great on the ball. I think he positions himself very well. I'm a big fan of Johnny Evans. I really do like him. I was buzzing when we gave him the extension because there was a lot of people last season saying, you know, what are Man United doing? We're never going to go anywhere if we're giving Johnny Evans a contract extension. But I just don't think it's a sensible way of looking at it. I get the point they're trying to make if you want, you know, oh, we should sign a big name, but why would you get rid of one of your most reliable players just because he's not an exotic name? The bloke's been at the club for, I know he left the club in about 2011 or so.
He knows what it is,
back then. It was some time back then. But the bloke knows the club inside out, and that counts for something for me. That really does count for something.
Yeah, a little bit of breaking team news. We'll get this filtering through. We obviously know that, what did I say before? Amad Diallo starts, Mason Mount starts, Lisandro Martinez, don't know why I said it like that.
Oh, Lisandro
starts. What, are you ready for this? Starts at left back.
Oh, really?
And which actually ties in very, very nicely because I was looking at the defence and I wanted to mention it. I was trying to really get a gauge on what we would have predicted as a starting 11. I'd actually wrote down, I had Diallo, Evans, Martinez and Amas. But if Martinez now is playing left back, I think it's going to more look like it is going to be maybe Evans and Maguire at centre-back with Diallo at right-back.
I think that's sensible. I think it's more sensible to go with that rather than throwing Harry Amas in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. I get it. And I think the fear is because it's Manchester City as well. When you've got a kid that's, what is he, 17 years old, there is that thing of, you know, Sir Matt Busby said, if they're old enough, they're good enough, which I totally get. But at the same time, sometimes it's horses for courses. You have to look at this game in isolation and think, you know, if he was turned inside out, it could be not a career ender, but it could certainly set his development back, couldn't it? Because there's no doubt he's got game time in the friendlies. Ten Hag obviously likes him, but it's about managing that player now and not, you know, because some of these youngsters just believe their own hype, don't they, far too soon.
This doesn't need to be, you know, this doesn't need to be his first start. He's going to get game time this year in the Europa League. So there's no need to rush him into anything. As soon as the Europa League comes around in late September, October, whenever it starts, he's going to get plenty of games in the group stages. And if he performs, he'll get even more game time going into the knockouts. So, no need to rush him.
So, obviously, get your comments in as well. I think there's a couple of super chats. There is Patrick Lynch. Good afternoon to you, or morning or evening, wherever you are, sir. Says at least means that both will be there for Liverpool. Massive game for them play, but we need them. De Ligt is a huge signing. Again, if you've just joined us, you might be late out the pit or the cot or whatever, and you might be thinking, what the hell's going on? Matthijs de Ligt and Mazraoui confirmed by all kinds of like top sources. So it's only a matter of time, which as a Man United fan, it gets you excited.
What was the guy's name again who sent the chat?
Patrick,
great point, Patrick, because it might be too soon for De Ligt and Mazraoui to come in to start on Friday. I imagine they won't even be a part of the squad on Friday, but that means their debut will be Old Trafford against Liverpool, which that gives me, I like that. Yeah, big into like that. That'd be lovely.
The Illusion as well in with the super chat, thank you, said, capital letters, does that mean I have to shout it? Says, best news to wake up to on match day. GGMU, which means glory, glory, Man United. I'm loving this. Everybody's getting into the game day spirit. Let's get back to, I mean, the news, the team news will break very shortly. We know that. So defensively, we know that Onana is going to start for Manchester United. And later on, we'll do our ones to watch as well. We've both picked two players out that we'll look at for this game. But now that Martinez is playing left back, we know... I think it's going to be Evans, Maguire, Diallo, right back.
You'd assume so,
unless Erik ten Hag's going to throw a curveball in, which when we sat here in May for the FA Cup final, he caught us right off guard, man,
I can't remember him ever playing a free back, not during his tenure so far at United. I'm not sure, maybe someone in the chat can help us out with that, but I don't think we've ever played a free back. So yeah.
Well, midfield. We'll move into midfield and try and sort of try and guess this before the team news breaks. But we're guessing it's going to be a 3 or a 2, and you would assume that Fernandes is going to start. But again, it depends on whether he looks back to that glorious day in May when United won the FA Cup.
That was a lovely summer day, wasn't it?
What a day. Whether he is going to play this kind of false 9. But, I mean, I'd written down Mainoo's definitely going to be there. As long as he's fit, wrap him up in cotton wool, he starts. And the main, I'm not going to say the elephant in the room, but somebody who's been linked with a departure all summer, the Saudi interest seems to have cooled, was Casemiro, which I think if he's fit today, when you consider that Amrabat has gone back to Fiorentina, where it's still potentially a deal to be done there, but another player that was very good in the FA Cup final. Would you see a midfield free of Casemiro, Mainoo and Fernandes, possibly?
I imagine so. I think Casemiro will start. I mean, like you said, Mainoo and Bruno.
Well, we know that Ahmad's starting, don't we? We've got that confirmed. Yeah. So when you're looking at a front three, it depends whether he is going to go with his false 9, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, team news will drop shortly, so we'll have a look into that. But Mainoo and Bruno were your two first names on the team sheet now. So that leaves, you've got at least one more centre midfielder usually. And I imagine it'll be Casemiro. We played all through the pre-season. It was like he was really getting, it was like they were gearing him up for the season. I know we've been linked to Ugarte for essentially the whole summer.
For about 10 years.
I'm getting the feeling now, I'm getting a bit nervous about that deal. Feel like it's going on a little bit too long. I kind of see it just fizzling out because of the price tag that PSG want. I seen there was talk of Sander Berg the other day, which interested me because that's a cheap option. Obviously, you could call it a lower quality option because he's played for Sheffield and he's playing for Burnley at the moment. But that's actually a player I really like. And if they decide that they don't want to pay the money for Ugarte and go for Sander Berg instead, and then they're going to stick with Casemiro for the season, we were saying before the show that's a significant call, that to go into another season with Casemiro as your main man. Because we were looking at him last season going, it looks a little bit like the wheels have fell off. He looked a little bit, he just looked like he was carrying weight. He just looked a bit sluggish. He just didn't look like the Casemiro
Making silly mistakes.
We all knew.
I've just got a quick super chat from Nasruddin? Hopefully I got that one right, but he's saying, feeling positive. Couple of pints for you guys. That's us sorted for the game. Thank you very much for
pal. Nice one.
The super chat. Let's just have a look. There's some more breaking team news. Here we go. We can bring the starting 11 to you. This is official here on the United stand. So your starting 11, you've got Andre Onana, you've got Diallo, Maguire, Evans, Martinez at left back, as we established earlier. Casemiro, McTominay, Mount, Fernandes, Ahmad, Rashford. Sorry, we've made a mistake there. Mainoo instead of McTominay.
Okay, yeah.
I was just ready to go, wow, Eric Ten Hag. I told you about that curveball before, and I thought he's just thrown it in there and caught us off guard. Yes, sorry, bit of fake news for you there. No McTominay. Just trying to catch you out. It's game day. Just wanted to see how many of you on this fine Saturday afternoon are actually on the ball. We like to do that here, don't we?
I tell you what, I'm buzzing with Ahmad. Absolutely buzzing with Ahmad, because it seemed like last season he couldn't get, I know we got a little bit of game time towards the end of the season, but everyone was screaming out for Ahmad to get game time. The one I remember was Sheffield United at home, and I think Garnacho was injured and Rashford was injured or something along the lines of that. And it just was like, finally, Ahmad's going to get a game today, and he still benched him. So to see Ahmad start in a semi-significant game, like you said, still trophy on the line. I'm buzzing to see Ahmad. I really hope he has a. I really hope we give him. He's looked good
in pre-season, and I think the words that Eric Ten Hag has kind of thrown. He has in sense he's waxed lyrical about Ahmad, and he's kind of said that this season is Ahmad's season. It's his time to shine. And we sat on forums a lot last season. We couldn't understand why he wasn't getting game time.
Yeah, we're banging our heads together saying, why is he not starting Ahmad? Why won't we give Ahmad game time? Because we were having to enjoy watching Anthony, who, let's be honest, he's never been great for Man United. And then we're just going, surely Ahmad's going to offer us something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're never going to know unless you give him the game time. You've got to let him have a run of games.
Couldn't we? And that's why we were pulling our hair out.
Every time,
what's he done?
Every time he had a cameo, and I know Ricky used to always say and agreed with him, every time he had a cameo, he was just, he'd always get on the ball. Like even if he only had a short 15, 20-minute spell, you know, you could see he wanted the ball. He wanted to make something happen, which in a player, that's what you want. You want a player who's going to not hide away from a game. A player who's going to jump into the game off the bench and try and make an impact. So, yeah, want to see more of Ahmad this year.
And that's what was interesting. Pre-season, for me, results are not a major thing, but to see performance levels and to see Ahmad, especially his goal against Rangers, which was a great finish, all he can do from his perspective now is give the manager no opportunity to leave him out. He has to be in his thoughts, basically knocking at the door and in that position, basically fighting for a starting place, doesn't he? And he is versatile as well.
Well, like we were saying, on the ball, you know his quality on the ball, but as a winger nowadays, you are expected to produce goals and assists. So that's what he's got to do. He's got to come in and get a few goals and assists and give the manager no choice, like you said. Yeah. If he comes in and scores a few goals in the first couple of months of the season, then he's got no choice.
That's where you cement your place in the team, because
that's what it's like for a winger nowadays. Your wingers are your goal scorers in teams. It never used to be like that, but that's just what modern football is.
If he can put a performance in today and follow that up agained Fulham next Friday,
then
and then all of a sudden you're in the team, and you're in the team on merit. You know, it's not, well, I say the Gareth Southgate kind of model of...
You're not just in for the sake of it.
Just because you're mates and you had a great Euros 4 years ago, whatever it was. You know, you're basically getting in the team purely on merit, and that's how it should be. But just looking at the starting 11, if you just joined us, we are just kind of going through it. We've sorted out the back four. I'm just kind of glancing at it, and we did mention before Casemiro and Mainu. We're going to be the two in midfield. Further forward, obviously, you've got Rashford on the left, Ahmad on the right. You've got Mason Mount then and Bruno Fernandes. This is the interesting one now to see where... Is it going to be Bruno false nine, do you think? Exactly like that great day in May last...
It almost feels like it could be... When we lined up against City in that cup final, off the ball, we set up in a 4-4-2. And it almost feels like it could be that, just because of the midfielders that are on the pitch. But then I'm thinking, who would go up top?
Well, listen to this one then. Quinn Starr has just thrown in a super chat, which is totally great timing. Thank you very much. Says, maybe Ahmad right, Garnacho left, Rashford up top. Well, we do have the team news now, so Ahmad right. Could Rashford possibly play up front there from that?
I think for... Not the entire 90 minutes against City, but for large spells of that game, I think he did kind of drift up top. I think they were shuffling between Højlund, Bruno and Rashford. Yeah. It was the main thing today is the press. You know, a lot of those players are in there today because he knows they'll keep the shape and press. It was like why that team got picked in the cup final, when we were looking at that team going, what a strange lineup. I mean, we weren't expecting Rashford to play. But then after the game, when you look at it and look at the system we played, where, you know, we were pressing high, trying to win the ball back, then you go, well, yeah, it makes sense why Rashford's, he's there for the counter-attack. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So... and
it worked to great effect, didn't it?
Yeah, so that I expect the same thing. I expect the exact same thing
It's
today.
about that pace down the lines, isn't it? Obviously, the last super chat from Quinn Starr can confirm to you that Garnacho is not starting this game. We do know that it's Ahmad... and Rashford. That's what we're trying to work out, but it does look like that Bruno and then Mason Mount must be a bit further behind, maybe.
Yeah, well, he started
more of a midfield kind of role.
Yeah, he had a decent bit of game time pre-season, didn't he? Again, same thing. You know you're gonna get legs out of Mason Mount. You're gonna get your running out of him.
Yeah. Sound. Just a few more super chats. I think Vincent McDonald says, all right, lads, Ineos have got brilliant deals done here. Those are really good prices for those two players. De Ligt and Martinez will be a solid centre-back pairing. We did discuss that earlier. And obviously you need the kind of forgotten man now, Yoro. You know, that's been, I say forgotten. You know, we know he's going to be out for about 3 months. Everyone's excited. What it is when he comes back then, at least there's not too much pressure on a player like Yoro, like you said earlier, 18 years old. There's people labelling him already the new Varane. You know, we sold the old Varane. We've got the new Varane, you know, the younger version. You don't want to hype them up too much, but what that does now is actually take the pressure off Yoro, you know, because in theory, De Ligt's coming in for a similar kind of fee when you break it down. So at least you've got De Ligt, who is a hell of a lot more experienced, hell of a lot more Champions League, international football under his belt. So I think it's a really, really shrewd signing. And I know some people might look and go, it's still a lot of money. It is. But as you rightly said, this is Ten Hag's guy. He's worked with him in the past. You know, it should be a good signing. I don't see any sort of negativity. And the chat is just, there just seems to be loads of positivity,
just
which is great.
The more we keep mentioning the name Matthijs de Ligt, I'm just buzzing.
Yeah, let it sink in. Enjoy it.
Back in 2019, mate, I was dying for us to sign de Ligt. I was so gutted when we missed out on him. I was gutted. I really wanted him. So now we finally got him. You know, it feels nice. I'm just so happy he's a Manchester United player. It's just bringing me back to those years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when, you know, we had that little Champions League run with Ajax and I was desperate for us to sign him. So it's nice that he's finally a Manchester United player. See, I remember that
summer, and I was devastated when he didn't go to United.
I was on my knees.
We've been linked with him all summer, and I'm looking at De Ligt, and I'm, like you said, you know, the physical presence of him, and you'd seen clips of him, seen him in the Ajax team, and I was, what was he at that stage? About 18?
18. He was 18
so you're looking,
and
like you said, you're thinking he's the captain of Ajax, huge club.
He was built like a man.
He was Champions League, you know, the pinnacle of football. That Ajax team was absolutely, you know, fantastic. The football they played, but he was colossal at the back.
He was bullying players, mate. 18 years old, and he was absolutely bullying players on the pitch. It's you don't see it. Like Yoro, obviously Yoro is going to be an exceptional player, and he's an awesome centre back on the ball. But when you look at like the build of Yoro, you know, he's not quite got that build yet of like an intimidating centre back. Whereas De Ligt had that when he was 18 years old. I don't think we've seen the best of De Ligt. So fingers crossed, the best of De Ligt, De Ligt's best years is going to be at United. That's what I'm hoping.
And I still don't think he's been a failure. There's some people that say at Juventus, he wanted to leave Juventus. And again, when a team like Bayern Munich, you're talking about two powerhouses of European football, and now he'll have United on his CV. So he's gone from Ajax to Juventus to Bayern Munich and now to Manchester United. I think he's in a place where he'll have a manager that knows exactly what he's all about. He'll want to build on that, and he'll know exactly what he can get back from this player as well.
Yeah,
the Premier League's very, you know, robust and physical.
Yeah, he's just suffering from the expectation that was thrown at him from such an early age. Yeah. You know, he really was. When he was 18 years old, he really, like, everyone was saying this guy is the real deal. You know, at 18 years old, he was getting compared to Van Dijk. Like, that's really how good he was that season. So just because I mean, he still played at an unbelievable level. You know, I know he's not starting for Netherlands in the Euros, but he was start. I think, did Netherlands win the Nations League, or did they go far in the Nations League? Something like that. I know he was starting for Netherlands alongside Van Dijk when he was 19, 20 years old, which you know, good experience. That.
Not bad, is it?
No.
What a player! Wow! As Borat would say.
Kev, I really am buzzing. Struggling to contain himself.
I tell you what, I have got. I've got the actual breakdown of the team. Obviously, we had a list of the players, and sometimes you think, is that curveball going to be thrown in by Ten Hag? Who's playing where? But I can tell you, obviously, Onana is in between the sticks. Evans and Maguire is the centre-back pairing, which we confirmed earlier. Martinez at left-back is going to be a really interesting one. And he did play there for Ajax before, didn't he?
I think he's played there for United.
Yeah, so it's not something that's, you know, new to him. He's not just been thrown out there to cover the Luke Shaw kind of Malacia kind of
I am
headache.
gutted, to be honest. I'm gutted that we're not seeing Luke Shaw. If we can get Luke Shaw fit, that's a massive bonus this season. I mean, if you look at that, you look at that back line now though, where you'll have Mazraoui or Diallo at right back. Ideally, you're going to have Luke Shaw at left back, and then you're going to have centre back. You're going to be shuffling between Martinez, Yoro, and De Ligt, Evans, and Maguire. You look at that entire back line and go, all of those players are pretty comfortable playing with the ball to feet. You know, all of those players are a lot of their game is based on playing out from the back. So you can kind of if you're going to be an optimist, you can kind of see Ten Hag's vision kind of slowly
glass half full,
falling into place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great point. You look at an area of the team defensively, which we've certainly struggled with. And like you said earlier, you've got a player like Johnny Evans, who I think the majority of United fans would prefer to see in the team ahead of Harry Maguire and Lindelof. You know, they are your
Lindelof,
they're your backup.
Completely forgot about
backup defenders that you're looking at, and they don't fill you with much sort of confidence, especially like even a game today against Manchester City. It's a Community Shield, but we'll just move into midfield. It is a midfield three. You've got Mainu, Casemiro as the kind of holding midfielder. Mount's a bit further forward. So in the whatever you kids call it these days, is it some kind of like triangle?
10.
Or, yeah, 10. That'll do. That will do. Rashford on the left, Ahmad right, and Bruno is the false nine. So we know that Bruno will just terrorise that back kind of four, which is what he did in the FA Cup final. All about chasing down. And buzzing Ahmad and Rashford. What we will do, we'll do the ones to watch.
Do we have the bench?
Do we have the bench?
Oh, and is Zirkzee on the bench?
Yep, we need to find that out, don't we? But yeah, let's get into ones to watch. Before we went live, we get to pick two players, and we picked them randomly. What we have done, me and Tull, we've actually chosen the same player for one, so we will touch on that. Somebody I've mentioned that actually starts today, so it's definitely relevant.
There you go.
We're just getting breaking news now. Fabrizio Romano has just, is it a here we go, for Aaron Wan-Bissaka to West Ham. So you can see exactly what has happened here. I said it on the Thursday night show, the domino effect. This almost, when you're buying a house and you're in a chain, you know, if one bit of it falls through. But United obviously have managed to sign Mazraoui and de Ligt because they obviously knew that Aaron Wan-Bissaka was being moved on to West Ham. So we can confirm that as breaking news. This is going to go down in the history of breaking news on the countdown to kick-off. This is off the scale.
All of this in the space
Imagine
of
we could just sit here all day and just get one after the other.
We were sat in there, Kev, going, we've been too slow again. We got those two deals out of the way. We've at the start of summer.
Bloody
and we've had a dry patch for a month. We've done it again, and then they've come back at us in the space of half hour and done 3 deals.
Yeah. Tull was losing the plot. He was like, bloody spinning.
I know, I was saying, they've done it again. They've done it again. We're too slow. We're too slow. It's the same old story. We've done it again. We need a midfielder. We need a centre-back. And they've gone and done a deal every 10 minutes.
Brilliant, this. Keep it going. Honestly, it makes great content here on the United
They must have heard me, mate. They must have heard me.
Let's go on to ones to watch. I know that the first name, we'll get this one out of the way because we both chose the same name on this. And I think it's interesting because I've not asked you personally, so now I'll find out why we both chose this player. We've both gone for Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? Not in a bad way. I'm not like, what were you thinking?
Towards the end of last season.
I chose him as well, like, but
do you mean today or like just
why
in general?
have you chosen him as one to watch? Because sometimes people always think one to watch is like some upcoming player or whatever. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It's a player that's in your mind, and I'm guessing you might be going along the same lines of me of considering the season that he had last season, the troubles off the pitch, whatever. You do feel that this could be a huge, huge season for Marcus Rashford.
Marcus Rashford is definitely on my mind, Kev. I tell you, do you know what I think about Rashford, right? Do you know when you have like a mate or a family member or something, and it's like they're kind of going off the rails, and you just really want him to get back on track and do well. That's what Rashford reminds me of right now. Do you know, you got a mate, and he might be getting up to no good.
Yeah, and you say, stop being a knobhead, mate.
Thinking, what are you doing, man? You're better than that. You're better than that. That's the thing, isn't it? You're better than that, and that's how you feel about Rashford. You think?
And I'm not calling Marcus Rashford a knobhead there before anyone even tries clipping me up.
Clips up and sent to him on Twitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I mean. You look at Rashford and you think you're better than that. When you look at him last season, the season he had, when you look at the numbers he put up, the goals and assists, you go, that's not Marcus Rashford. You know what Rashford can do because he did it in the first season with Ten Hag. So you just really want Rashford to do well, and obviously there's the thing of him being a homegrown player, a lad from Manchester. It makes you want you root for him that little bit more. So this season's massive for Rashford because it does get to a point of how many years he's been at United. You know, he's been at United since he was probably 5 years old or something like that. But the same with all players. If you're not going to perform, then especially when you're on the money he's on, then you have to cut ties at one point. But you don't want to cut ties with Marcus Rashford. We all want Marcus Rashford to do well. So I'm just
it's
really
a strange
hoping.
One because
I just wanted to find his mojo. I just wanted to get into that mindset he had with his first season with Ten Hag.
There is an argument that even the season that he scored the goals, the performances weren't great, but you still had that output of, you know, the numbers that he did put in. He was winning games late on. He might have been anonymous, but at least you kind of had the goals.
You get that from Bruno sometimes. Sometimes Bruno will play a game where, you know, it's like he's playing pinball, just smashing the ball all over the park, and you're thinking, come on, Bruno, you're forcing it a bit too much here. But then he'll pop up and get his goal and he'll win you the game, and then you go, well, he won us the game, and what's football about? What are we here for? Do you know what I mean? We're here to win. So it's the same thing. If he's going to score goals, his job really, like we said, wingers these days are goal scorers. And in that first season with Rashford, he was our top goal scorer. I don't know who he was. I can't even remember who was playing up top that year because we sold Ronaldo. It was Weghorst, actually. It was Wout Weghorst, and we signed him in January. So our main output that year was Marcus Rashford, a winger. So yeah, just hope we can get back to that. I'm looking at, this kind of ties into my next player to watch. I'm kind of hoping with this type of striker we've signed in Zirkzee. You know, he's not really an out-and-out striker, because we're hoping that's what Højlund's going to be. Zirkzee might be that other option of, you know, a player that's going to facilitate Marcus Rashford, and also Alejandro Garnacho as well, because, you know, Garnacho's got a bit of a goal scorer in him. So I'm hoping...
So your second player of your ones to watch that you selected was Joshua Zirkzee, the first player to be signed under the new kind of Ineos regime. I think he's admitted himself in an interview recently that goals... I don't think he's kind of saying, don't expect me to score, you know, like loads of... But he did say that isn't really my game. He said more about his game is bringing other players into play. And that can be key in a team. You remember like a Firmino at Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
And people used to look at his numbers and say, well, goals-wise, but
he was crucial.
The players around him all appreciated what he did. And Liverpool still scored lots and lots of goals just because he didn't contribute, you know, just because it didn't say that he'd scored 20 goals a season or whatever. It was the players around him that he brought into play. And I think we have missed that to an extent, haven't we, in the final third?
Well, you know, we've got a goal scorer there in Højlund. You know Højlund. Once Højlund cracks on, he had an all right season last season anyway. But once Højlund really develops, I think he'll be a top goal scorer. He's the type of player who's going to get into the box and get those tap-in type of goals, you know, especially working under Van Nistelrooy now. That's something I'm really looking forward to. But with Zirkzee, if Zirkzee can just unlock Rashford and bring that level out of Rashford, then that's like a new sign. That's like having a new signing in Rashford. Do you know what I mean? That's like having another goal scorer. So I'm buzzing to see Zirkzee, to be honest with you. If he can be that player to kind of, you can imagine
so many players that need unlocking, don't there?
Yeah, you can imagine a front three of Rashford, Zirkzee, Garnacho. And you can imagine, you know, Garnacho and Rashford being your goal scorers and Zirkzee just constantly feeding them the ball, playing 1-2s, putting them in behind. That's what I'm hoping to see. Yeah.
Let's address the hardcore United Stand viewers at this moment in time that are live and kicking in the chat. It's great to see so much positivity. Daryl says Mount did play left wing for a bit in pre-season. So, I mean, there's a possibility that they could interchange.
He played on the right for a bit for Chelsea at one point. So
it's like the days of Ronaldo and Nani at United. You know, if they weren't getting much joy, swap over. You know, let Ronaldo go and terrorise somebody else.
Jesse Lingard used to do it for us, didn't he? He just used to fill the gap.
Of course you do. Cayman Cider says, could we still afford another number 6?
What you just read?
Go into the set. Oh no, man! Greg, why has he just said super charts?
It's my filthy, dirty mind.
Oh, God almighty, I'll never live this down. I always said I will never, ever get caught out with one of those.
Football's back, man.
Oh, God almighty.
Stand chat's back.
That is an absolute belter. I've got to take my hat off to you, and I'm certainly going to read it out. Could we still afford another number 6? Maybe sell Jadon. Can we just wrap up now? Where do we go from here now? Oh, God. I'm getting clipped up, aren't I? Yeah. I don't know. Well, that's just brilliant, that. Do you know, I don't even know what kind of money that is.
Mark's been stung with that one before.
Oh, God, right. Mo, I should have proofread it. Do you know what? I usually read these names.
You're gonna have
in my head,
Mark.
I have a split second where I read it and I think it sounds all right. It's really hard to, and that one, I just seen the side of it at the end, and then I thought, oh, it might be somebody's, you know, they might own a shop that sells cider. So then, oh, do one, honestly. Mo says this is probably a 4-2-2-2 with Bruno and Rashi up front and Mount with Diallo behind. We know it's not, but Lisandro to play alongside Casemiro on the ball with Mainu pushing forward. That's quite wild, that. That's a really... I'm never going to live this down. I can't get it out.
You'd have to...
Do you know what? I'm so wounded because I always give it the big one on a Thursday night show saying I will never get caught out.
I've heard.
And people try, and it... I can't believe I've been done.
To the best
honestly.
Of us, mate. You'd have to drop Mark a text. He'll feel your pain, mate. He's been stung by the exact same fella.
To even read Inu Napa. It sounds like it could be anything, but it says, here we go on Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Romano. Thank you very much for that. We are aware, and I do think you put that chat in around the same time that the news actually broke, so thank you very much for... This is what the community is all about, innit?
I've missed it, man.
I was going to say we all come together, but... honestly, these jokes, man. James Clough says, just switched on, have I missed much? James, you've missed one of the most... This has been the
monumental
best,
moment.
Monumental.
United stand history.
We've had here. We know that Matthijs de Ligt is signing for Manchester United, mate. We know that Mazraoui is coming to Manchester United. We know that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to West Ham, and Kev has just been caught out big time. If you missed that, you can just rewind a bit and check it out. Jake95 says, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, here we go. Thank you very much. Love how the community, you know, tried to push this news towards us, but we are reacting to it. And Undefeated says, I'm gutted to see Aaron Wan-Bissaka go. He is such a good player. That's somebody that we did discuss at the start of the show when there was a possibility of him going. Tools had his say.
About 15-20 minutes in if you want to skip back.
The lasting memory now of Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to be that one-to-one job that he did on Doku in that second half of the FA Cup final. For me, if you're talking about a lasting memory, I can live with that. I think Wan-Bissaka can go from United as well. I don't think... He might feel like he could have improved and kicked on, but do you know what? I like the fact that he's ambitious. I think a lot of United fans will look and think, how's a McTominay and Maguire still at United? Even Lindelof to an extent. Yeah. You look at them players, especially Lindelof and Maguire, where you think, come on, lads, do you not... Have you got ambition? Do you want to be playing every week? Wan-Bissaka now, in theory, is going to try and resurrect his career at West Ham. You know, he is going to be playing Premier League football. And yes, it's not as big a club as Manchester United, but I take my hat off to him. You know, we've had good service from him. I know there's critics, some fans don't like him, but like you said, one-to-one defending. There was.
I think he's the best in the world at it. Honest to God, I think he's the best player in the world at
it. He proved that in May. We played arguably the best team in the country, who we're kind of playing again today. Yeah. And he did a job. You know, defensively, yes, getting forward was never his forte, something that we all wanted him to work on. But defensively, you know, if you know you're going to be under pressure and you're coming up against a left-handed sided player who's got tricks and, you know, he's going to run at you like Doku did. Yeah. You know, Wan-Bissaka just shuts him down. We've seen that in the past as well.
We've seen it a million times. He's done it to Mohamed Salah a load of times. Who was it who used to play on the left for City? I can't remember. I think it was the first season we signed Wan-Bissaka and we beat City at home and away that year. Wan-Bissaka was crucial in both games. Just can't remember who played on the left for City at that point. But yeah, he's the best player in the world at doing that one job. It's just unfortunately, if we want to move forward, we probably need more than that one job. So.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm just sat here, mate. I zoned out for a minute there. I'm just thinking about that super chat still. I can't get it out of my mind. Honestly, the season has not even kicked off. How could you do that to me?
That geezer's on a mission to get everyone on United stand. He's had Mark, he's had you. Who's going to be next? He's had Beth as well. Oh, wow. You're not getting me, mate. No chance you're getting me.
No chance you're getting me. Footballer that Beth got done with, wasn't it? Yeah. Citizen Z, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. So your other one to watch was Joshua Zirkzee. And what is it just to see this kind of link-up play? Like I said, at the risk of repeating myself, he has said he's not an out-and-out goal scorer, but he does look to bring others into play. And I think that is interesting because we do have what I would say is a lot of wingers at United who can be a bit, shall we say, selfish, make daft decisions at sometimes.
What it reminds me of, so like we said, we could be seeing a front three this season of Rashford. Obviously, we know Højlund's injured till about October-ish. You could be seeing a front three of Rashford, Zirkzee and Garnacho. Do you know what it gives me memories of? It gives me memories of, and I'm not memories, it's not like we were world beaters at the time, but a good front three at the time was when we had Rashford, Martial and Greenwood. And Martial used to play in the middle and he just used to feed Greenwood and Rashford. That's what he did. That was his job. Martial wasn't really the goal scorer. He would just knock the ball off to Greenwood, Rashford, play 1-2s, link up the play. That's what Zirkzee's going to come in and do. I think Rashford's going to be looking at Zirkzee going, this could work, this. You know what I mean? I think Rashford will really be looking at Zirkzee thinking, you know, we
think that Zirkzee could bring the best out of Rashford possibly,
That's the whole point. For me, that's the main thing with Zirkzee. That's
we're
why
talking about locking.
Yeah, and Garnacho too. I think you might see it out of Garnacho. It might be Garnacho this season who has the big, 20-goal season. Let's not write Garnacho off. He had a brilliant season last year. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing Garnacho actually because last year it was almost like he got overworked. You know, he started.
He was nearly burnt out.
I don't know how many games he started, but he had a brilliant start to the season. Well, actually, I think he didn't start.
He's not had much for rest in the.
Because he was at the Copa America, but and he didn't start, and then it took till about December until we started putting him in the team because I think it was Villa at home, and we played on the right, and he was brilliant. And then from that point, then in December, he started near enough every game, and you could see towards the end of the season, like he just looked a bit knackered. He didn't look as sharp. When he was getting the ball, he wasn't as get up and go as he was at the beginning, but I think he was just overworked. So hopefully see a fresh Garnacho. Could we see a 20-goal season out of Garnacho? Do you know what I mean? The ceiling with Garnacho is pretty high. Could be a big season for him.
Yeah, I like that. Certainly a lot of positivity. Again, I still can't get this super chat out of my mind, but I'm just going to have to dig my heels in here and kick on like the proper pro that I am. But that was ones to watch. Tull's and mine we both chose Marcus Rashford. You went for Ineos's first signing, Zirkzee. The other one that I went for was Onana. Which
I like that.
Do you?
Yeah, really.
I thought you were going to raise an eyebrow then.
No, really.
I want to see your reaction to that.
Really like that. Did you see Dave's gone to Fiorentina as well?
Yeah. Spanish Dave.
Yeah, but Onana, interesting. What I like about Onana is the character he brings.
I think it's like you say about Rashford. I think it's a big season because it's his second season. I think he's been quoted as saying a few like mischievous comments of. Yeah. Be prepared basically for heart attack or heartburn football because he's going to be taking risks again. Yeah. The main thing for me and why I chose Onana, I had no issue. I always said, and no disrespect to Spanish Dave, David De Gea, but you look at the FA Cup final that De Gea played in, the year that we got beat by City, and I'm not saying it was all down to Onana or De Gea why we got beat, but the amount of times that De Gea went long in that game, in a game when you know that City could have the ball for 10, 15 minutes and they're just going to wear you down. And David De Gea kept going long, shot stopping, don't get me wrong. I think he's miles better than Onana. But when you come into these games against a team like City, and a lot of teams in world football are looking at playing this high press kind of football, Onana is key, and he was key when we won the FA Cup back in May.
Brilliant in that final.
He's passing. Now, the one thing that did let him down, the one shot that was the easiest one to save in that was Doku's,
was the near post.
Because there wasn't much power on it, and that was the story of Onana's season for me. I thought, I won't say he was solely responsible for us exiting the Champions League, but he was a huge contribution toward. And really, he can pull off a save 1 minute, and the next minute one can just slip under his arm.
There's no point even sugarcoating it.
It was pathetic, wasn't it?
It was abysmal. That, and it was shocking because we were thinking we've just let Spanish Dave go. Do you know what I mean? So it really was a kick in the balls, basically. Yeah. We're thinking we've just let Spanish Dave go for free. And this is what we replaced him with. We've gone out of the Champions League in the group. So that was. But I thought he got more comfortable as the season went on. I thought he had a strong finish to the season last year. Onana. the one thing I really like about him is the character he brings. You know, you see it in...
It's infectious, isn't it?
You know, you see him when he, you know, I think it was a penalty shootout. Was it the Coventry penalty shootout against Coventry? And, you know, you can see he brings a bit of character, which Dave was a timid character. You know, awesome goalkeeper, but he was a bit of a, you know, he never say he commanded his box.
Did Onana play with the, like...
Yes.
Ajax?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
See, what I wanted to touch on there was, in Onana's defence, or defence of him, I don't mean the defence in front of him, but yeah, he hasn't actually had a settled back four. When you think of the injury problems that we had last season, Luke Shaw, Martinez was out for a long spell, you had Wan-Bissaka injuries, you know, Diallo was the only one really, and then there was so many different combinations between Varane, between Maguire, Martinez, you know, Lindelof, whoever it was, Johnny Evans, all these... And for me, I do look... Don't get me wrong, I can't defend the silly mistakes that he made, but I would love to see him with a settled back four. And what you're getting with De Ligt, who's coming to Manchester United now, is somebody that he will be confident in. Onana has to be confident when he's playing out from the back that he's giving a player the ball, which we've seen some of the situations that they could be in the corner flag, you know, and you're talking about somebody pressing you and you want to try and break that. But the one thing in the FA Cup final, his passing was just immaculate.
Yeah,
it got us out of so many situations. City wanted to stick to their game plan, which was fair enough. That's what they're going to do. But Onana beating that press, you know, the goals that United scored...
You get the counter-attack from it, do you know what I mean? City are pressing you high and Onana manages to shift the ball out to the full-back, even though it might be a bit heart-attack at the time. You know, he's got a player right in front of him and he opts to pull it back or something and go wide to a full-back. But it's that high-risk football that won us the game because, you know, you do that, you got the front three pressing, you take three players out the game, you're on the counter-attack straight away and, you know... I think that's how we scored the was it the Mainu goal when, you know, we had the ball out to Rashford and we just went long straight away, got it right out to the other winger, whoever it was on the right.
But goals were just both width, weren't they? It was pace. Obviously, for the Mainu goal, the Rashford pass was just insane. You know, the switch of play to see Garnacho from that angle. You know, the long ball, and it will catch teams like that out. You know, that's the way you would have to play against that kind of long ball in over the top. Now, when you've got Garnacho, you've got Rashford, whoever it is, Ahmad, you've got that pace, haven't you? That's the one thing this season. The one main thing that always gets me is that certain players in them positions, when they choose the wrong option, but in the cup final, for some reason, it just all come together again. Got it in my head now. It just all, you know what I mean? Come together. Yeah. And what a glorious day. But a few more super chats. Let me see how I'm checking these now. Sean says, "Don't worry about the chat, Kev. You're a legend. Thank you very much." Flash Talk says, "What a day it is already. Great to get business done. Now let's go smash City." I mean, it's madness to think. What are we now? We're about 35 minutes away from kick-off.
From football being back.
I'm actually excited for this.
Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I did say earlier as a joke that it is, listen, if we get beat, I can go home tonight and I'm not, you know, I'm not going to be in a bad mood. Yeah. But the positive side of this is, if we do win it, all I want to see really is a good performance. If I can see something that's different to last season, and even up to that cup final, some of the performances, we were sat here how many times scratching our heads going, what is the game plan? And again, you do have to get some of these new signings integrated into the team. Where we've spoke about Euro, there's obviously now De Ligt and Mazraoui as well that will come into this team at some stage. But I need to, especially as an attacking force as well, I think a huge part of that will be, as you rightly said earlier, I would say the shrewd kind of signing of Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I give Benny McCarthy his flowers at the time because Rashford put in that season when he scored the goals. Yeah. And I did say that a huge part of that, I do think, was having this attacking kind of coach, you know, that was obviously doing one-to-one training with Rashford, whatever, with the forwards. But I think now when you've got Ruud van Nistelrooy coming in, I'm not saying Benny McCarthy wasn't respected, because I'm sure he was heavily respected.
I know where you're going with it, yeah.
But Ruud van Nistelrooy is a legend of Manchester United. Yeah. Now, the one thing nobody can do here with Ruud van Nistelrooy is kind of look at him and say, well, what have you done?
Exactly. You automatically walked into that changing room and you go...
And if they were daft enough to say, what have you done? You know, he can get his medals out. He can say, you know, I fought in a team with Roy Keane. You know,
played at Madrid. Played at Madrid as well. Do you know what I mean? The guy.
We should have never have sold him at that stage.
I know what I'm too young to even. I never even got to see him.
Yeah. Do you know I was actually on the car park when this was the days before social media and that, but with some kind of news got back. I actually worked at Old Trafford at the time, you see. So I was round the back of the Stretford end, and I'd heard that there'd been an argument. Apparently, Sir Alex Ferguson had told Van Nistelrooy he was going to be on the bench. Van Nistelrooy didn't like that, and I think that there'd been a few things leading up to this.
Wazza was pushing his way in, wasn't he?
Basically, and I remember as I'm walking into the ground, this like Mercedes tearing along the road out the back from the players' compound. And it was Van Nistelrooy. And I always knew when I looked at him, I thought, I've seen him for the last time. And it was quite emotional, that, because he still put it in for Real Madrid when he went there. He scored goals. He was an absolute legend.
I think I was 2 years old, Kev.
Yeah. Oh, make me feel old now. Yeah. I'm reading stupid super chats out. I've got Tull taking the piss out of me now.
2 years old, I think, when he left.
Match day is officially landed here, hasn't it, on the United stand?
Yeah,
we are here for it. We have got Mark coming up shortly for his watch along of the Community Shield. So much to get through. So much. Not now. Dave, not now. Dave says news reporting De Ligt involved in car hit and run. I think that's slow sports news. Should we say?
I'll tell you what, everyone. Go over when Mark's show starts. Go over and tell Mark. Breaking news: Bruno injured. McTominay starts.
We need to spam his chat anyway.
Yeah, Bruno injured. McTominay starts. Go and tell Mark that.
Give him a heart attack. Chat with that, and we've also got.
From Tull Sports News.
Tull Sports News. Rome says, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. And thank you, everybody that is tuning in at this moment in time. We've discussed the defence. We've discussed signings. What I will say, and if you've just joined us for some reason, De Ligt and Mazraoui, it's done. Here we go. I'll do it. Fabrizio Cavano. Here we go. It is done. That obviously follows the signings of Zirkzee and Yoro. One player that will not feature today through injury. Do you worry about the injuries just before we wrap up? Is it the curse of United?
It's just, do you know what, Kev? I'm so desensitised to it now. I'm so used to it now.
It is that, isn't it? He's injured. All right.
Yoro and Ireland got injured. You go,
yeah.
Wow.
Luke Shaw goes to Euros. Yeah. He's not ready, he's injured.
What surprise. Do you know what I mean?
Hoyland's a big one. Hoyland, my brother.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It is, because I thought this was going to be a big season for him. It was stop-start last season. The injury, remember, he scored like 7 or 8 goals in kind of. He went on that run,
his little run,
and you were thinking Hoyland has landed. You know, forget all these rival fans saying that we got Haaland off Wish and all this. He's
I was at the Villa one. It was Villa. It was that Villa game I spoke about before. I was at that one when he scored his first Prem goal, and that was it. Then he went on like 7-8 games on the bounce
before Christmas or over the
around
Christmas
time. Might have been Boxing Day.
Yeah,
it was around. It was around.
We were getting beat and then
2-0 down. We're 2-0 down. Yeah.
That's what we do, isn't it? Hopefully we don't see that. Well, I just want to see United win today. But I suppose Manchester City, we know that they're going to have players missing as well.
Yeah,
they're going to be at full strength.
I've heard Foden's.
Kyle Walker's not
I've heard Walker,
with the squad.
Foden, and there was one more who I can't quite remember. It might have been De Bruyne, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so... You're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah,
there's a chance. Saying Dumb and Dumber. We've
got a puncher's chance.
We've got to be positive. And when you look at that starting 11, Casemiro is kind of one that you look at and think, legs-wise...
Let's pick us up today.
Well, do you know what? I'd written a list. I'll get through it very quickly. But these were players who could be like new signings this season. Mason Mount, Marcus Rashford, we've discussed. Anthony. This is all because I'm trying to say that unless they're injured or they can just be any better than what they were last season, it's going to be a massive thing for United, because there is this panic that we've sold 8 players, we've only got, we got through the door now, 4 that we've got through the door, and we need more. But if Mason Mount, Rashford, Anthony, Lisandro Martinez, because he was out for a long part of the end of the season, Luke Shaw you mentioned with injuries again, it remains to be seen, you know, is this something he can shake off, or is this just part of old age, you know, or is he just, you know, at that age now where he's not going to recover and break down. Casemiro, I've just mentioned, if he can up his levels from last season, he's going to be like a new signing. Jadon Sancho, we've not even mentioned, comes back in. He could be like a new signing.
Surely they're going to offload a winger, and it probably looks like it could be Sancho at the moment.
There is talk of Sancho.
We were talking
PSG
about
still.
On the right, you've got Garnacho, Sancho, Antony, and Ahmad.
And Palestra.
Like, that's too much.
It's too many. It doesn't make any sense.
It's too many. One of them will get offloaded, and it looks like it'll be Sancho. And hopefully, off the back of the season, Sancho had, you know, played in the Champions League final. You'd hope you get a little bit of money for him.
There was a few whispers, Jadon Sancho to PSG, which again...
Could that be used to leverage?
Ugarte.
Yeah, could we leverage that in the Ugarte deal, maybe? And
Ahmad had put on that list as well. And in brackets, I'd wrote needs game time. He's getting that today.
Yep.
So that's 8 players. Is it 8? Yeah, that's 8 players that I've just reeled off that if they can stay injury-free, they're going to be like a new signing, especially for Martinez, Mount and Shaw. And the others, for me, Jadon Sancho, it's all about, has he got the fire in his belly? Is he actually interested about being at United? Or have United just played a blinder PR-wise by bringing Sancho back, making out there isn't an issue because they want to get a half-decent fee? Because if you've got damaged goods and you've got a player that clearly wants to leave the club and him and Ten Hag aren't on kind of speaking terms, it's quite easy for somebody to come in for a bit, you know, and say, we'll give you 15 million to get rid of this problem.
I like that. I've never thought about it that way, Kev. That's smart, that. I like that, yeah.
Do you know, I was asked this by Beth on one of the countdowns. I think it was before the Rangers pre-season.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like, oh, Jadon Sancho's back, they've kissed him, made up. And for me, I'm a bit more sceptical. I like to sit and get a bit of context first. And I've read the comments. Even this week, Ten Hag's been waxing lyrical again about Jadon Sancho, about how versatile he is.
Yeah.
He can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play up front. And I'm like, he's got him in the shop window here. You know, whether Ineos have said, just clear this up, you know, maybe even Jadon Sancho knows to an extent that if he just plays ball here with United, you know, and a move comes in that he wants, then everybody's happy. You know, everybody shakes hands, you know, and they sort of depart and go their ways, don't they? That's what it is. But I had Ahmad on that list as well. Anthony, who you mentioned earlier, I put in brackets last chance saloon. I think he is drinking in the last chance saloon. I don't write a player off after one season.
Two
seasons. So when you come into your 3rd season,
you've got to perform.
It has to.
You've got to. Yeah.
I don't understand how he's going to hit the ground running at United, because unless there's injuries, and it's on a side, as you've just said, that we're heavily stacked in, and there's players. How many did you just mention then? So
5.
there must be 4 players ahead of Anthony.
He's got to take his chance.
4 players ahead of Anthony at this moment in time.
Whatever chance he gets, he's got to take it.
Yeah.
And the way you got to take it is his goals and assists, mate. Yeah.
I'm going to finish off with a few super chats. Thank you very much to everybody that has got involved. Let's have a look. I'm just trying to find out where I was up to last time and make sure it wasn't that super chat that caught me out. Still wounded by that. Where were we? Was it Grace? Where was he up to? What do you think of us being linked to? I don't.
You don't even want to read it. You give Kev trust issues.
Right. Right. Oh, Hermoso. Do you know, I'm looking, I'm thinking this is, and then I'm thinking it could be some foreign word for something or anything. Yeah. That's, the lad that we've been linked to the free transfer.
Well, I'll tell you, I know Mazraoui can play left back too, so I don't imagine we'll see that deal through now, because I know Mazraoui's a versatile full-back, so...
See, and
Diallo is, so, yeah.
My confidence is shattered now. I think even if I see Mazraoui written in front of me, I would go, Mazraoui. Yeah. And I'd be like, you know, because I think I'm getting caught out again. Gasper is in there, says, hey, I have a quick question for both of you. If you had to sign one new left-back for Manchester United, who would it be? And that's their first ever Super Chat in the United stand. Let's celebrate that. Woo! Left-back.
It's a bit of a cop-out answer, but just a fully fit Luke Shaw. I'd rather just have a full season.
You know that Malacia could come back, and then you've got, you know, Harry Amas.
Honestly, I'd take a fully fit Luke Shaw over any left-back in the world.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I would.
Red Adair says, know this, Kev. Mazraoui and Anthony were mad at Ajax.
I forgot Mazraoui was at Ajax.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
When he means mad, I don't think he means like angry. I think he means
the link
that
up was good.
Is that like?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They were mad.
Yeah, it was well mad.
Madness.
It was well
mad.
mad.
Madness.
Yeah.
I'm mad. You like that? Curtis Reed says, "Oh God, Mazraoui, here we go. We do know that. Thank you very much, Curtis." Not Now Dave says news reports. I've read that one before. He's not been in a car crash. Fake news, man. A few days ago or whatever. The Family Channel says, imagine if we get a Here We Go through Garte. We might even get that on the fans forum after. The way this day is going, it is unbelievable. The Duke says, I honestly don't care for none of this news. I want to see medical and jerseys up, so I'm not getting excited. The Duke has simply just woken up on the wrong side of the bed today. Fell out of the wrong side of the bed, hit his head or her head, whoever it is, I don't know. But Sion Jones, Kevin Legend, Michael says, glory, glory, Man United. Nice work, guys. Can't wait to see Zirkzee. And welcome to the United Stand Members Club, IOB. Get yourself over to Mark Goldbridge's watch along. It is the big one. We're building up to it. Manchester City against Manchester United in the Community Shield. What are we spamming the chat with?
And I was going to say, you know what you're saying? Tool Sports News, Bruno Fernandes injured for 6 months, McTominay starting and captain, and McTominay captain as well. That's what you're telling Mark from Tool Sports News.
It's very long-winded, so get your little typing fingers out, and we will see you after the game for the Fans Forum. You've been watching the biggest Man United fan channel in the land. This was the United Stand.